Yeah, so it's Sunday. Sunday. Yeah.
Subject is on house.
Well, you need to know how.
But then there is no what?
Very true.
Okay.
This session is
an audience only one, two girls have come right now, and then another girl, she's here.
You put on the group? Group it out, yeah.
So do you know just documentary?
I think she's speaking. Yeah.
That is so good. When did you come?
I came
Yesterday. Wow. South Africa, 8 hours. Yeah.
just
hours.
Blind over there. Sure. ठीक है लेके आओ.
In the middle of the eyebrows.
Just what you do, you put here and then you put here. You see the difference.
Mama is around so.
You put it here.
Oh, that's too hard. Yeah, it's yeah. So you want to make service for it? Yes. Sungana. Masala. Oh, yeah,
You start. People will join if they will join.
Hello.
She's also speaking.
No,
she's not a speaker.
I'm panelist.
She's a panelist.
Yes, Mellany. Yeah.
Okay. When we will be starting it,
Yeah.
What's
Just
the
5
topic?
minutes. Women empowerment.
Well,
supporting women.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, women supporting
Interesting.
women, yeah.
Rashmi, you also sit here.
Do you have any people on the
You sit on that chair only. So.
Okay. Good evening, ladies, isn't it? Yeah.
You come here. So it is capturing live.
Oh, okay.
Behind. If any help needed, let me know.
I'm going to push myself.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Agatha Amata. I am from Nigeria. I host a TV talk show. I've been doing this for about 20 years. This is my 20th year on TV, on Nigerian television. It is the longest running talk show on Nigerian television. And we have shown not just within Nigeria, but also outside. Incidentally, I just met her. She said, "Oh, I know you," you know, because she was watching from South Africa. In hosting this show, which is basically issue-based, I have found out a lot of things. One of the things is that one of the most vulnerable groups, as far as the African society is concerned, for a lot of the time, is women and young people. Half of the issues, more than 50% of the issues I deal with either affect women or youth. They're the ones at risk. And so I found myself always having to talk about these two people, these two categories of people. And I thought to myself, I mean, if we look at the numbers, as in a lot of countries, you'll find out women are not, they outnumber men. Yet, they get fewer positions, fewer placements, fewer everything else, yes. And I started to ask myself, why is this the case? If you look at India, they probably have the same kind of issues. Women, there are many women, but only a few end up standing out. So, they are not occupying political positions, high positions in corporate organizations. When you get to a boardroom, if there are 15 people, there will be maybe 1 or 2 women. And yet we have the numbers. And I started using a lot of these issues, and I just want to share with you some of the things I found out and why I think the problem essentially is women, not men. Let's start from the young child, the mother. So you have a son and you have a daughter, especially in Africa. You start to teach your son, you're king. You don't cry. You don't have to do housework. You don't have to, these are for girls, these are for boys. Then you tell your daughter, I'm in the kitchen, what are you doing playing? Why can't you clean up the room? The boy is there, the girl is there. You don't talk to the boy, you talk to the girl. We started, as mothers, I think that's where the problem starts. We start to teach our daughters that they need to be subservient. That is how they are trained. And it's funny because it's a bit confusing for the girl child. So I send my daughter to school. She's in school with boys. I expect her to do well in school. I expect her to come first, not first among girls. First, I expect her to go to university and do very well. And then let me use Nigeria as a case study. So I have a daughter, I wouldn't do that anyway, but this is what typically happens. So you send your daughter to school, and she's been doing very well. She's a first-class student. She's brilliant, she's excellent. And then, as soon as she comes out of school, she wants to get a second degree. Okay, that's fine. How old are you? You're 21, so by the time you're done, you'll be 22. You should be, because your focus now should be marriage, not school. You should be looking for a husband. And then she does that and she says, Mom, I'd like to do a PhD now. then the trouble starts. If you do a PhD, who's going to marry you? You need to step down. Keep calm. Start looking for a husband. That's no longer important. When you get married, you can get a PhD. You're in your husband's house. At least then you'll be settled. So you have taught her through life, through school, that she needs to be the best she can be. But as soon as she becomes an adult, you go back to what you were teaching her as a young girl, that you need to step down in order for the man to come out or come up. And so you have women who have the ability to do a lot more than they can do, that society tells that you need to reduce yourself in order to get what is termed important. Marriage is important, no doubt. But that you teach your girl child that in order to marry, she has to pretend to be less intelligent than she really is a problem. I had a session with some young boys on my program. I had 15-year-old teenagers. And I was asking them, we were talking about domestic violence. And one of the boys got up and said, women deserve to be beaten. They are all fish brain. 15. And people found it funny. But it wasn't funny. So I asked him, I said, how many women have you met that have fish brain? How many do you know that have fish brain? And he goes, that's what everybody says. That women have fish brain. And I thought to myself, what kind of adult is this young boy going to grow up to be? What he thinks is not dependent on any personal experience that he has had. It is what society has told him. And that is how he's going to view the woman. That anything his wife in future says, he's not going to take her seriously, because he has a mindset that women have fish brains, in his own words. And we get a lot of all this kind of stereotyping where you are taught as a guy or as a young boy that you're superior. We have found out, especially, I'm going to keep using Nigeria, a lot of marriages are collapsing now. And I think it's everywhere in the world, but more so in Africa where it was unheard of. Issues I've treated have shown me that the problem is that women are changing, but men haven't changed. So we're not teaching our young men that they need to respect and allow the women to grow. Whereas the women are becoming a lot more liberal and realizing that they can be a lot more than they are right now, and they are refusing to be caged. So, a woman now for the first time is saying to her husband, no, I do not accept what you have just said. It is not true, cannot be true. And he's saying, how dare you talk when I'm talking? Because that's what he has been taught. And so there's a conflict. And he's saying, as far as I know, my mother never talked back to my father when my father was talking. And the young woman says, I am not your mother. Problems start. The issues start. And I think we have a lot of practices. I'm taking the different issues as I see as they affect women. We have widowhood practices, where a woman loses her husband and immediately the problems begin. I have dealt with that issue severally. I have brought widows on my program. I've done it so many times over the past 20 years. I've heard really horrible stories. And guess what? The perpetrators of the act are usually women. Mother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, nieces, things like that. Aunties, they're usually the ones who carry out all this. And I asked myself, why is this happening? And they said, that's the way it is. It happened to me too. It happens in my family. And so it's just a vicious cycle. And there's a need to break the silence. There's a need for women, because no matter who you are as a woman, you're going to be somebody's mother, somebody's sister, somebody's friend, somebody's grandmother. we have to take a stand. What you don't want to happen to your own, you should not allow happen to somebody else's. I think that the time has come where a lot more women, I'll tell you something, I own a TV channel and I own a radio station. I host a talk show. I have staff of about 120, thereabout, 120, 150. I have people, men, who started after I did, who do exactly, who today have TV channels, radio stations. When they were going to talk about me, it was some man must have done it for her. It couldn't possibly be that having been in this industry for 20 years, I should have come up with something. When the men who have exactly the same as me started theirs, nobody said a woman must have helped him. But as soon as it was a woman, is which man is bankrolling this? Who did she sleep with? How did she get this? Nobody ever thinks that you're intelligent enough. And I'll tell you something, it doesn't come from men, it's more from women. The gossip, the talk, the pull down is more from women than men. And I've said this several. I said if women voted for, encouraged, you see a female politician, she's campaigning, what they're looking at is what is she wearing? How does she look? Is she well dressed? She looks hard. This one looks unserious. They're not even paying attention to what is coming out of her mouth. They're more concerned with the physical. Whereas, if a man takes the microphone, people actually listen. And it's almost like a conspiracy to say nothing sensible can come out of a woman. It's almost like a conspiracy. And that's why, even though we're more in numbers, we're fewer in positions that really matter. And so one of the things I decided to start doing is to say, if I'm looking for someone for a job, and both sexes are qualified, I'll pick a woman with no apologies. With no apologies. So just so we can bring up one more person. And you're not like a lone voice shouting in the dark. So, the more we empower and we encourage, and for women to realize that mentoring is essential. Men mentor as a matter of routine. Any well-placed man that you see has boys. The boys are not relatives, they are his boys. These are people that he is grooming. They follow him everywhere. They watch what he's doing. They know what he likes. They know what he eats. They know how he talks to people to get what he wants from. He can mentor them for 5-6 years, and then he will place them somewhere. They're loyal to him for life. That's what happens. Any well-placed man you check, that's the style. Then let's check out the women. Where are your mentees? Who are the people who 10 years from now will say, Agatha was instrumental to getting me here? How many of us really do that? How do we expect to grow? How do we expect to break that chain? The young lady cannot be with a male mentor and follow him the way men follow him. She will be tagged names. She will be called all sorts. Even if her intentions are genuine, nobody around her will think her intentions are genuine. Yet, the women don't do same. So there are fundamental questions that we must ask ourselves. Where do we want to see ourselves in the near future? Because a lot of the women who have excelled, let me use the word, have done so amidst plenty of struggle, name calling. But imagine what it would be like if a woman came out, and that's why I was very pleased about the Hillary Clinton thing. She was actually more capable as far as I'm concerned. That's my personal opinion. She was more experienced, but she didn't win. And let me tell you what was said. If any other person had contested against Donald Trump, that person would have won. So it is not, yeah, they brought up a lot of excuses as to why. I mean, everything you were accusing her of doing, Donald Trump never released his tax returns. He did do a lot of the things that they were talking about. Nobody wanted to say the word, go and sit down. Your husband has ruled. What do you have to offer? What's the new thing? That's the thing. They were silent on the issues. If any other man had contested against Donald Trump, that person would have won. And so while we hide behind a lot of the things and nobody wants to really talk about it, I think it is important that as women, it's called each one tell one, each one pull one up, that we start to look around us, pick one woman, mentor one person, lift up one woman, encourage one woman. You see wrong being done, be it domestic violence or widowhood practice, or mentoring in school or at work, do something to help. There is a need to break that silence. And when you sit down and you see girls or women pulling down another woman, somebody, there was a joke that was told once on my program about why women don't progress or move forward. So here's the joke. A young man was telling this joke. He said, so there's this friend, he goes out, he doesn't come back home, and his wife is looking for him. And she calls 5 of his friends, and all 5 said, he's with me. All 5. Oh yes, he's with me, we went out together. They didn't know what the problem was, they didn't know what had happened to him, but they had his back. And then, when it was time for the same for the woman, and they called 5 friends. One said, I don't know where she is. You haven't found her. You mean she went out? At this time of night? You have to do something. Maybe you are being too free with her. Every single one of his wife's friends that he spoke to was already berating the wife without knowing what happened to her. And that is an example. It might not be a very good example, but it's an example of the fact that we don't have each other, because those are supposed to be our friends. Now, with friends like that, how bad can the enemies be? How bad? That as we, right from motherhood, we start to teach our children, especially our sons, of the need to respect women. Essential. Rape is on the increase. Values are dropping. Mothers are not doing their job. You need to tell your sons to respect women. They are not fish brains. They can do as well as you can do. Sometimes they can even be more intelligent than you. Listen to your wives. Listen to your sisters. They have something to bring to the table. That is where the women supporting women mantra came from for me. If it is only one person, I keep saying that, start with one. Mentor one. Teach one. We will make a difference in the world. That is so important today. Because if we don't, we're going to end up with a lot of broken homes, a lot more violence. We're going to end up with men who cannot operate in this field we're in. And women are going. We're not waiting. So it's better you teach the boys. that they have. The more you cage a person, the more the person wants to break free. So when my mother says to me, don't talk when the man is talking, I'll say, then don't send me to school, because I will talk. My daughter is 19. She just made A's. For her A levels, she's in the UK, she made all A's. She wants to be a film director. She writes very well. She has her own art blog. She likes so many things. And I cannot imagine that she would, with all that potential in her, she walks around with her camera. My daughter wants to take a photograph here. She's not going to take your face. She's going to say, can I take the tip of your earring? Then when that photograph comes out, you wouldn't believe it. The eye that she has for picture. I cannot imagine anyone stifling that. I have a son. He's 23, going to be 24 this year. And I've told him, I said, if you don't treat your wife well, I will join forces with her to fight you. Oh yes. My son, people always ask me, how come he's so well behaved? If I pick up something or I'm trying to do housework and he's in the house, he's going to jump up and say, Mommy, don't do that. Don't touch that. I'll do it for you. I taught him to do that. I can't be washing dishes and he'll be playing whatever game that is. It's not possible. In which house? As whose house help? When I go to the UK, because there's schooling in the UK, and I say to them, I am officially on holiday, and I tell my son, you are cooking for me, you will serve me, you will take it away, you will wash the dishes. He knows. He can be a boy and leave his room untidy. He can't leave my house untidy. His room is not part of my house. Whatever he does is in his room. If he leaves dishes in the sink, I'll wake him up at 2 a.m. to wash them. I'm not going to wash it, because I expect him from now to know that he has to respect that we're two in the house. If he cannot treat me well, and if he can think his mom is his house help, then what would he do to his wife? And so it's important that we start to teach young men values, respect for women. It will bring about a huge change. If there's nothing that we take away, is that we should start to look for women. Be partial. Men are partial. Nobody complains. But when a woman does it, she's feminist. She's this, she's that. Men do it all the time. As long as the person is qualified, I pick a woman. And women should stop excusing themselves. Big problem. You know, I get people, I've met a lot of young women, and when they come and I say, so what do you want to do? Ma, I can do anything. What does that mean? What does anything mean? I don't have any job description called anything. So the question is, are you prepared for what you say you want? When it is handed to you, will you be ready to run with it? That is another thing. I see a single mother. She comes into my office, or a widow that needs help. And before she opens her mouth, she starts to cry. And I just sit and I look, because tears have no effect on me. So I'm saying to her, I said, so why did you come here for crying lessons, or is there a real reason why you're here? Because I have an NGO that works with single mothers, widows, things like that. But what I've found is that they're just looking for a pity party. They don't have any plan. They just want you to dash them money. And tomorrow they'll be back. And that also comes from the mentality of believing that you're inferior. You always need help. And I say to them, my mom, I lost my father pretty young. My mom trained 7 children through school. I'm a single mother with 2 kids. I don't go crying to anybody, so I don't know why you're crying to me. What is your plan? Oh, I was thinking. You are still thinking, and you came here. So you left your house, got all the way here to think. No plan. It's necessary that women start to change their own narrative in every sphere. I'm not concerned about the men. I think women are the bigger problem. How they see themselves, how they treat themselves, how they treat others, the mindset they have of their own abilities, all of that needs to change. So that moving forward, going on, as we enter they talk about the millennials. The millennials believe that being hip is about having a Louis Vuitton bag. You don't have a plot of land and you have a Louis Vuitton bag. You haven't done anything with your life. You're 21. And the most important thing to you is to buy an LV bag. Or what's that one with the red soaps? Louboutin or something. That is the most important thing to you. As a young woman, you haven't looked beyond the physical. You believe the best you can offer society is how you look. I think that there's a need to change the mindset. We need to start to tell a different story. We need to start to tell our young girls the truth. We need to start to mentor the young women and support them as they make a difference. Thank you very much.
How much time?
5 minutes.
Then you can take.
Brilliant presentation from Agatha there. And as she spoke, I was, shaking my head because it was things that we live with day to day, especially where we come from in Zimbabwe. It's the same issue about women. Margaret Thatcher once said that if you empower a woman, you empower a whole economy. If you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman. I wouldn't know how far true that is, but I believe that I am a woman of action. And most of you, are you women of action?
Yes.
Yes. And I believe that you being here, you're women who have decided to raise a voice. You're women who have been empowered. You're women who have represented the silent woman. The fact that you are here means that you can go back out there and influence society with the stories that you have received, and also the stories that you have shared are something that I will definitely carry out there. I want to refer you to the fact that when Agatha was speaking, she said, pick up somebody who you can start mentoring. Pick up someone who you can start empowering. There are situations where you see talent or identify that this woman could be much more in society. Don't continue talking about it. Don't continue watching her grow up. Pick her up and start mentoring her. One of the things that I've dedicated myself to do is be a voice to women who are looking for empowerment. There are women like you and me, there are women from even disadvantaged society. But I have said, if I can say something, if I can do something for them, let me be the channel of that empowerment. And I would like everybody to take a pen and paper and just take this blog down, freewomanentrepreneur.com. Visit the site, go and look for the phenomenal women that are there. Contact them, connect with them.
Free women.
Free woman, that's all one word. Free woman, that's WOMAN, then entrepreneur, the whole word, .com. So it's a blog that has various women with their testimonies. You will see how others are running schools from areas where maybe facilities are not that much. Connect with them, encourage them, give them hope, and email anything that you can assist them with. I believe they'll continue to be inspired by us. There are women who are running, the usual chicken projects. They are running fashion businesses. Whatever they are doing, if you can encourage another woman from Southern Africa, you would have done, or you would have impacted their life. I want to also touch on the issue of raising up gentlemen. It's very important. I have 3 boys, and as I watch them grow each day, I actually think about it and say, whatever outcome that they become, I know I have contributed to who they are. My first 2 are 6 and 4, and when they see girls or other women, they are gentlemen. They do not hit other girls or toddlers. They don't bully them. They just look and realize that it's a different species. I don't know whether you can refer to a woman that way, but they do realize that they're different, and they play great games. But when other guys come, it's rough, the house goes in a mess and all that. But the distinction between a man and a woman, they already know it at that age. So I believe that it's really important to inspire the children as they grow, and so that they become gentlemen in society. It's really up to us as women. So, and also, the issue of financial independence is very important for women. I believe the fact that you're here, you probably have that financial independence to an extent. You have been blessed with it, and you can actually be a blessing to other people in society with your finances. Because sometimes some women, it's not because they do not want to become independent and strong or to be empowered, but sending someone to school or a course for $50 can be life-changing and transformational. So I just want to encourage you to inspire other women, to promote other women with the resources that you currently have. While you may take for granted that resource, you never know how much more it can benefit someone. And I'll stand with the fact that when you empower one woman, you empower a whole community.
I am Rashmi, I'm from India.
It's on this.
So this is Rashmi carrying on from Agatha. I definitely echo the sentiments with India and the issues and the concerns that your region has is quite when you were talking, I was going actually back to my childhood and how I was raised, and luckily, fortunately, my parents are also working, and my mother has been with a very senior government official, and I've always seen her working. So like I'm anyways empowered, and seeing her work, I really feel that for getting anything to change, I think we are the agents of change. We be the change, and women have to be the agents of change. And as you said rightly that, pick just one person and mentor. And if you start mentoring that person, you're done with it. So one-to-one empowerment is very important. So I would touch upon India, for that matter. So now for empowerment, first and most important is, I feel, the economic empowerment for women here. We have got, I'm going to just run through some of the women, in our country who have been such powerful agents of change. And the first and foremost is Ms. Jyoti Nayak. Now she herself is a movement in herself. Now she is a lady, who started a papadum, we call papadums. So that's it's a cottage industry, and she is an illiterate woman. She started at the age of 12, helping her mother make papadums, and from there she created history. Now today, it's an old figure of 2010. She started in the year 1959 with just a capital of INR 80 rupees INR, which is like $1.50. And today, in 2010 figures are, it's a 6.5 billion rupees company, and she's employed almost 43,000 people. It's 81 branches. So what was so inspiring about her? Now she is actually a rags to riches story. She was helping her mother make papadums, and she gradually climbed the ladder and became the president of the organization. Now this is the empowerment that she did from the grassroots level. So she converted a small cottage industry to actually a national movement, basically employing women and empowering women economically. So she has been a big agent of change for our country, and we do look out for such agents of change. So be the change is what I would say to all the women. If you want to change something, you yourself have to be the change. Second is Ms. Shahnaz Hussain. I'm sure the Indian women would know. So she's again created history as to about the herbal products. So she uses Indian herbs, and she's created cosmetics, again getting economic empowerment to women. So there are a lot of franchisee outlets for where the women take Shahnaz Hussain. It's 2 ways that they are beautifying their own skins. So they are getting aware that they have to be looking a bit beautiful through Indian products, and also giving employment as to regarding the franchisee. So, and her work was recognized by the government of India. So here we talk about economic empowerment, which is very, very important. The other part which I would also want to talk about is the social empowerment. So we have new age women entrepreneurs who are working on the social enterprise. And one such woman I would just like to pick is Aditi Gupta. Now she is actually speaking about menstruation, which is a very taboo in our country. And she has launched this site, which is where girls and women are educating themselves, and it's a blog. They can talk about, they can know how to use a pad, because it's something which women or girls, teens would not like to talk about. So this is again a woman who's making strides in the social empowerment. So this is another way where our politically empowered women, which again in our country we really lack. If you see in the assembly, there would be 1/10 of women, who are representing the assembly in the politics. And so this way, these are the different ways where we can see the empowerment. And I would just say, in the end, that with my own daughter's example, I'm just going back. Well, she's also into theatre, and she wrote a play on Boko Haram. She was so in her whole group, they created the play basis of Boko Haram, and in the end, what they did was, she said she was so, she was very emotional about the whole topic and her whole team. So they ended the play when one of the Boko Haram person who made the girl pregnant marries the girl. So she said, why are these girls being treated like this when they come back, and their whole families are actually not accepting them. And they said, we want to do something different in this. And they ended with a good note. So we see that the girls have hope when they created this play. And she said that, the way they felt about this play was, why are these girls, their own mothers and their own families are not accepting her? What did they do? What wrong did they do? So that was something which even, I think the girls today are actually feeling, and they want to be the agents of change. So I would just ask and request each and every woman to be the change. Please be the change. Don't just say or take pity on anyone, but do something and be the change. Like create a movement, enter politics. It's okay, even if it's dirty. You will be somewhere be there. Just take that step. That's what I say. And I always say that economic empowerment is the first thing which the women need to do, and women should support women. So I have also created a small group. It's right now at a Facebook group. We have got 5 members. It's a 1,000 member group now by the name of Enterprising Women Networks. So it was just created over a coffee table where these women I was talking to, they were doing something little on their own. And I said, well, why don't you make it into a profitable business? Create a business out of it. And it was just inspiring each other. Thankfully now those 4 girls are doing so well. One is into a food business. And I just mentored them and probably just inspired. It was just the inspiration they were looking at and someone to talk to and guide them. And today, touchwood, they all are doing well. So they are our core team members. And we are in turn inspiring other women. So I would just say be the change if you have to do the change. And I'm very hopeful about the women of India. The new age startup, the women are doing great work. And we hope to continue with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, all the speakers. It was really an empowering session. Thank you. Of course, come. Okay. Come.
My name is Dr. Elwood Sherini. I'm from Zimbabwe. And when Agatha was speaking earlier, it just sort of, I was replaying in my mind the kind of challenges that women go through. I'm very young. I'm only 38. I'm a doctor with a PhD in business leadership. And I work in it's a man's world, pretty much. So I work in a financial institution, and I joined that financial institution 2 years ago. My first few weeks, I had been given so many, I think every chief something was my boyfriend, because they were wondering, where did this young, feisty woman come from? Because when I came with innovation. I came with drive. I came with trying to reinvent the brand, Then, before I joined first, my current employer, my previous employer said in a meeting that marketing is just about a pretty face. I'm also a child marketer by profession. So you'll find that these are the challenges that we face as women. But I think choosing to be a victim or choosing to apologize for who you are is a choice that each and every one of us have to make. It's either you take a back seat and become timid, because you're thinking, if I shine, people will say, I'm so-and-so's girlfriend, or I smiled at this one, because they think women are just about a pretty face. People will make awkward comments about you as a woman. Some things I feel as women, we shouldn't entertain certain comments from men which are inappropriate, like in a work situation. If someone just says, that body, and you're saying, we're in an office, you're my colleague, I'm equal to be here, you shouldn't be talking about someone's body. But I think women tend to entertain those things. And when you're talking about women pulling each other down, the people that were saying all those nasty things about who she's someone's girlfriend, she's so-and-so's girlfriend, are actually women. Senior women within the organization, senior women within the social circles, and it has happened. I've been in professional life for the past 20 years, since 1998, And even from my very first job, there's something that my mom told me. Because my first job, I joined as a trainee manager in a company. And because of just discovering some pilferage that was happening, I got to get promoted out of my training faster than the other trainees. And that's when it all started. I think at the time I was only 18. And I went home and I was breaking down. You know, when you're still young, you're thinking, these people are saying I'm going out with so-and-so, it's not true. My mom said a statement to me, which I think that shifted my mindset at that point. When she told me that, you are there on merit. Hold your head high and don't apologize for who you are. My next day at work, I was rocking my stilettos, acting like I owned the world, and I changed my attitude completely. But imagine that was at the start of my career. If I had been the breaking down type from that point, I don't think I would have achieved what I've managed to achieve at this stage. So I think it's a choice that we need to make as women, be bold and say, I'm here on merit, I'm here because I've got value to add, and I'm not going to apologize for being in this place. Let's go there, let's transform a place, let's not be victims, let's be vixens. Thank you.
Hi, mine is more of a question. I'm being from South Africa. We're going through transformation, both from agenda point and every point. Now, I'm in the media, and media is still white-owned, all black men owned. My impression is, when you look for an investor or a partner, you always get those two groups, either black men or white men or white people as owners of companies. At what point are you set out as a woman? Because it's either that one woman who's maybe they want to remain being the only one, so they're not prepared to partner with you. So sometimes the only option is to go with the man or to go with the white person. So you never know. Now, as a woman who believes in woman empowerment and woman progress, is start being a stand out.
Okay. I'll just try and answer that really quickly. First of all, nobody owes you. Nobody owes you. Your idea is your own. It doesn't have to be mine. So when it comes to things like that, be very clear. If you believe in your dream. When I started my talk show, I was using a classroom, tables and chairs. Today I own my own building. Yeah. You have to stay with it. You may not get a DSTV or a multi-choice or Kwesi to support you when you start. Start with internet. Start at the level you can start. Nobody except you believes in your dream. It will take a while to get people to buy into your dream. If you believe in it, stay with it. At some point, passion, consistency, and focus will pay off. That's what I'll say to you.
Anybody else?
Thank you so much for your inspiring, speaking of all the respected ladies in here. I'm also belongs to a country where women, my sisters, are suffering from a lot of, issues, which is Afghanistan. And I would say that women are not weak. I would say that today that I'm standing here because of a woman, because of my mother. If a man is strong, I would say it's a shame, and I can't express my, my feelings. I'm like, when I'm saying this, is like somebody's saying like women in power. I'm saying no, they are already in power. They are the powerful. They are the existence of the world. If the woman was not there, the world would be not there. And because today, if a son is here because of a mother, and there is a saying that we're saying that God gives an option to the mother or to the woman that we all believe that the paradise exists under the feet of the mother. Somebody asked like why it's not in her hand instead of under her feet. And the mother answers and says that when the God gives me an option that to pick a child or the paradise. So the paradise was in my hand. And I put down the paradise and grabbed the child. And that's why the paradise went under my feet. So I would say, which one son or any of the man would be forgetting about that? If that much loyalty, that much patience, that much power and hard working that our sisters and mothers are doing for us, they shouldn't be, forgettable. And I would say that if you look at the population and the statistic in the world, women are more than men. But all they need is connectivity and connection and making a network. And that's what I'm saying, that we always look like when we're trying to move forward, like as respected lady said, that like we are moving, as she created a TV station and all these achievements that she had is amazing. But I would say that if we just go and do these research and see that there is women are suffering and having issues and problems, we should go there and solve that. I would say humanity doesn't have a border. Humanity, I would say, can reach any place. And that's why I'm saying that there should be, a leadership that exists in the world that lead the entire humanity, and that should be, the woman, because they are the leaders. They are, in fact, the leaders. If I'm coming out, from a hood, I'm asking from my sister, from my mother, does my suit look good on me? Or do you think the color is perfect? I ask about even my, how should I be, look like? If somebody is that much, I would say that there is no big respect or there is no big, dignity for a woman. They're so strong, and they have the power to change the entire world, and they are. But all I would say that is there is just a little bit, as you mentioned, is the miscommunication, or I would call it the lack of communication and connectivity. If you see how many conferences we have all over the world of men, that they get together, a lot. I would say more than thousands, but we see very least of women because there is a lack of connections. When there's a problem that we see through the world, I would give an example because it becomes very popular example, back in the U.S., between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, I would say the entire world should get together and give a support to that lady. But nothing happened like that. We only just talk sometimes. And I'm saying, no, let's do it practical. Action is more important than words. And if you put action, I think that becomes an inspiration to other women. And I would give you just a small example. I know I think I took a little bit more time, but I just want to give my sisters that in my country, if a man back in Civil War in 1998, in 1999, or in 2000 even, before the international community was entering Afghanistan, in my country, even if a woman were just sitting, no matter it is his brother, before they were finding out, she would get killed. Because why she is sitting with a man? And it is because of the culture that left it from 1,000 years ago. And after that, several women sacrifices their life as an activist for that. But there was a lack of education because people wouldn't know. And we started this campaign like going first to the orphan areas, whereas are the cities, and talking to the communities and to the people that about what is the problem that you are not allowing your daughter to go and get education? Because there was a lack of education that they couldn't judge between the good and bad. And they were saying like, oh, I don't want my daughter to be seen by a man. I said, yeah, is that true? They said, yes. Then I said, okay, when you are taking your daughter or your wife that she is, sick into the hospital, who's going to see it? If you are that much conservative, then there is a male doctor. So do you think it's a big shame, or this is a big shame that your daughter goes to school? And they were saying like, what? So they took this idea like it just come from the God. Dropped down. They never did an analysis. So what we went with civic education and providing the right information to the people to educate them that if you send your daughter to the school, she will become a doctor. And then it can bring some economical improvement to your family as well as your culture will be protected. Both your dignity as well as your... So this is how we moved forward. And we're in the country that we had a very, I would say, 2% women were going to get education. Today, our country is having more than 60% girl goes to school. And in 100 years, I don't know how many people are from which countries are here, but after 100 years, we got a first lady. We had one first lady 100 years back, but after 100 years, since last 3 years, we got the first lady, Miss Respected Grola Ghani, the wife of the president. She operates as an official government entity to support women. So I would say things are changeable if we fight for it, if we work together, and we don't lose our strength and energy. So thank you so much. And being as your brother, being as a here for you always, we always consider woman is the creator of the world. Thank you.
All of you come. You want to share? Quickly. Any of you want to share? Quickly.
Thank you very much for the insights about women promoting women. I just want to give a brief testimony of what happens within my line of work. I'm an image consultant, I'm an author, I am a lecturer. I coach executives on personal branding and grooming and etiquette. So most of the times when I approach these organizations, it's funny or I'm privileged that I get support from men. So you find that half of the time I'm coaching the CEO, the director, who are men. Now, When the wife at home realizes that my husband is being dressed by a woman, is being assisted by a woman, the fight starts. But I have been supported by a man in the first instance. So my encouragement is that as women, before we even get to educate men about empowering another woman, let's have open dialogues. Let's be open to new ideas. Let's be receptive. Yes, you may be sleeping with a man on the same bed, but you don't know everything. My husband is also an executive. He works with other women. The PA is a woman. In my space as a woman, I have to realize that at work or in whatever he does, he works with a woman. And I learn to believe, trust, and give her the platform to exhibit her skills and help my husband to be where he wants to be, because that's what she's paid to do. And half the time, if I visit my husband's office, the first person I meet is the personal assistant. There's a back door which I can use. But I said to myself, no, I would deliberately use the door which everyone uses. Approach her, respect her, and ask to see him if the time and if the schedule is there. And if I can't be with him, I better respect her, because that's her space. That's what she does. So as women, let's learn to respect each other as women, such that when another woman comes, we trust her. The other side of the coin is, as women, if we are working with men, let's also not allow them to abuse us. Because what I would do, for instance, with the executives I work with, suppose a man proposes me, I decide to be in a private, secret relationship with him. That's bad, because it's going to affect another woman. And how she reacts will be bad, because I've touched the soft part of her heart. So as women, there's a tail and head side to how we conduct ourselves. In conclusion, keep on trusting another woman. Keep on respecting what they do. I may know my husband from outside and inside, but I may not know everything that he does. And that woman working with my husband, on that time, that moment is more important than me. Thank you.
Smiling.
Smile. No, he can take.
Yeah, smile.
Hello?
When I was 20 years old, we started a climate youth movement, which has really had huge but I never publicized it. It's reminding me of peace.
She's coming, huh?
Hello everyone. Hello. We are starting the session, next session.
Thank you very much. I had a good time.
So it's sustainable philanthropy.
Yes.
I'm coming.
You're not saying how the session. Oh, there's another. Sorry, Carrie. She had PowerPoint. Oh, you're that was. I'm going to buy some. They have how. Hello. I know your perspective. We need audience. Yes. Like that. Okay.
Yeah, that's hers. Very expensive temperature.
Yes.
Stop, huh?
Thank you for joining. I'll be talking more about innovation and its importance in today's world. And I'll be explaining this through talking more about my journey as a whole. So we hear the words innovation and sustainability almost every day. But what does it mean exactly? Is it about people or culture, our environment, or jobs and money? Is it about cities or the countries or the planet? Is it about you and I, or is it something for other people to think about? I believe that innovation is the backbone of sustainable living. When I say innovation, I'm not talking about Apple Watches or hoverboards, but I'm talking about the innovation which makes a difference to the masses and the planet. Something like edible spoons which reduce plastic waste, or seaweed light bulbs illuminating homes. Today I will be sharing my story with you, and of how I understood the true meaning of sustainability and innovation over the years. So before I begin, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. Embarrassing pictures up there. I was born in a small village tucked away in northern India near Amata. This is the farm where I spent my formative years on. A few years later, my parents decided to move to England. Then after spending 6 to 7 years there, they decided to relocate back to India, and now we're finally settled in Chandigarh, hopefully. I am studying economics, politics, and international studies at the University of Warwick in UK. Having my roots in India and spending my childhood years in the United Kingdom, I feel my background has given me an internationally diverse and rational outlook. Spending my summer breaks in the rural setting of my farmhouse in India and then going back to an urban setting like that of the UK compelled me to seek an understanding of the forces and circumstances that rendered one country as developed and the other as developing. Every time when I used to visit my farm, especially during the harvesting season, I saw heaps of rice waste being burnt. Now, rice waste is basically the straw and husk left behind after rice has been harvested. So the farmers end up burning the rice waste in order to clear the fields to sow the next crop, and also since burning seems to be the easiest method of disposal of this waste, the burning of rice waste not only causes air pollution, but it also renders the top layer of soil infertile. Go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So what I realized and I've seen, we take things for granted. We do not even see a problem to be a problem. But in fact, we are oblivious to it. The farmers that are burning the rice waste in the fields do not see this as a problem or a threat to the environment, but they see it as the most efficient, easy, and widely used method to get rid of the rice waste. We have more of a "it's not my problem" attitude, let alone come up with a solution. We don't even acknowledge a problem to be a problem. This attitude seems to be a major setback and hurdle when it comes to thinking innovative. From the very beginning, I have been an extremely inquisitive kid, the kind of kid you really don't want to be around because she'll ask you too many questions. The inquisitive nature of mine never let me come to terms or be complacent with the idea of the burning of rice waste, and I knew something had to be done about it. One day when I was taking a walk with my dad, we came across a structure built by the nomads, which was on the last slide, built by the nomads from the very rice waste that was being burnt by the farmers. That got me thinking, and I also realized that a product that could be of absolute use, could not be of absolute use to anyone, could actually be a great resource for another. I further pondered upon the fact that the rice plant stands in water for the entire time till it's harvested without developing any fungus or mold, which meant it must have specific properties making it waterproof. Next slide, please. Next slide, yeah. And around the same time, a competition called the Social Innovation Relay came my way. The Social Innovation Relay is a competition held by Junior Achievement. It's a competition which motivates high school students to come up with innovative business concepts which also are beneficial to the society. And in fact, I'm a very proud J alumni member, J India, and very fortunate today to have Mr. Venkat, who's the CEO of J India, to be here today. And he's been a great mentor in my life. So now I found both the incentive and the platform to further probe into the idea I had. So SIR gave me a platform to voice out, to probably reach a greater audience and make the world hear my idea out. And that's the exact platform I needed. So I, along with 2 other classmates, entered this competition with my idea of Greenwood, a building material made up of rice waste to provide affordable housing to the underprivileged. Eureka! So I started experimenting with the rice waste with the limited resources I had, and my mom's kitchen came in handy. She kept her cool despite me destroying a few of her kitchen appliances, especially her favorite blender, and turning the kitchen into smoke room a couple of times. But I am glad to say that she still loves me, and I very much have a mother, I'm not disowned just yet. But at the end, it was all worth it, and Greenwood was born. After a long and grueling 4 to 5 months of developing concept papers and presentations, video pitches, mentoring, and conferencing, we emerged as the global winners from 43,000 students across 19 countries. Thank you. Having won the competition, we were invited to attend a 5-day-long conference in Tallinn, Estonia, which was organized again by the amazing organization, Junior Achievement Europe. It was a 120-hour innovation camp that was attended by entrepreneurs and innovators from across the globe. The entire focus of the conference was on innovation and social entrepreneurship leading to a sustainable future, reiterating my belief in the importance of innovation. And at the conference, I met amazing people from such diverse backgrounds with dynamic ideas. It was truly an enriching experience, and I came back extremely inspired. Even though Greenwood is centered around sustainable living, I understood the true meaning of sustainability at the conference. I came back highly motivated and inspired, and one day I was reading a report and stumbled upon some horrific facts. Over 2 million Indians sleep hungry and 7,000 die of hunger every single day. Having heard so much about sustainability, I thought, can we not be self-sufficient and feed ourselves or grow our own food? That is when I started with my initiative of food sacks. The idea behind food sacks is that people with limited means can grow their own food, inching them towards sustainable living. As I started doing this project, I realized I had taken up a mammoth task and I needed more hands. Then I devised a way and involved the kids in school. So how this basically works is, from the kids' perspective, we go and teach school kids the value of food and nutrition and teach them about sustainable living, the future and the planet, and give them an experiment to do, like how plants grow. How parents get involved is that the kid takes the bag home, the seeds and instructions, and they perform the experiment and see how the plant grows. And then once that happens, the parents and the kid, they basically gift the bag to home help, which also teaches them empathy. And the people that are targeted here is basically the domestic help, which takes the bag home and nourishes it, plucks the vegetables, saves money, and gets nutritional veggies. learns and teaches sustainable living to fellow beings. So it's an extremely simple idea, but the fact that it can make a difference in the lives of many is what really matters, and it's what sustainability and sustainable living is all about. So moving back to my story, I got an email from UNICEF saying that they wanted me to contribute an essay to their flagship publication, The State of the World's Children 2015. As things unfolded, I was invited as a keynote speaker and panelist to the launch of their flagship publication at the United Nations headquarters in New York. UNICEF had declared 2014 as the year of innovation. I realized that sustainability and innovation is a pressing and concerning issue even at the global level. So I was further involved with UNICEF when they approached me to be a judge for their competition, Wearables for Good Challenge. This challenge aimed at developing innovative, affordable solutions to make wearables and sensor technology a game changer for women and children across the world. These projects were mentored by Google, MIT, NYU, UNDP, etc., to name a few. Once again, you can see that the focus is on innovative solutions for the masses. Innovation is when we come up with simple solutions to complex problems. As you are all aware, the UN further took up the issue of sustainability and adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in 2015. Now, why innovation is important? A study by the Worldwide Fund warns that the human race is plundering the planet at a pace that outstrips its capacity to support life. Earth's population will be forced to colonize 2 planets within 50 years if natural resources continue to be exploited at the current rate. Ecologists worry that the world's resources come in fixed amounts that will run out. There is a fixed amount of resources, say metals and oils, clean air, land, and that we risk exhausting them through our consumption. We are using 50% more resources than the Earth can sustainably produce, and unless we change course, that number will grow by 2030. We are depleting the resources, but that overall ecology of the planet is changing. Our seas are full of plastic and oil spills, damaging the life. Manufacturers of goods are not doing their bit as socially responsible citizens to innovate things which are more eco-friendly and does not harm the planet. We need innovation. We need innovative thinking to progress towards a more sustainable world. We live on a planet with finite resources that are depleting by the minute. Sustainable living is the only way forward if we want to save the system from dismantling. At the core of sustainable living lies innovation, and innovation is accessible to all of us, and we each have a unique opportunity to innovate based on who we are and the way we see things in the world. Right, could you go back? Yeah. So I often hear these words, think outside the box, at conferences, at the workplace, at university. But how can you think outside of the box? We are not brought up that way. It was not a part of our curriculum, or as some students say, it was out of syllabus, because in a schooling system, we're taught a set number of things, and we're meant to think inside of this so-called box. Now, the main flaw that I do sense, sorry, next slide, please. The main flaw that I do sense is somewhat with our education system. We are restricted by curriculum. If you create very narrow competition of ability, conception of ability, you create very big deception of disability and inability. In schools, we are not teaching kids or encouraging them to explore themselves, but are directing them in a very linear path with the sole focus of finishing the task at hand, that is scoring marks and not scoring high on the how much do I actually know scale. We are influenced and not taught to be. We are filled with predetermined knowledge, leaving no room for self-exploration. Schools have become monotonous and mundane rather than a place that excites you or stimulates you intellectually. We are hollowed of creativity, and creativity is a prerequisite for innovation. We are not inspiring kids' imagination as we have a curriculum to follow and a set syllabus to finish. We have this assumption that intelligence is the same thing as academic ability. Academic ability is very important, I do agree, but limited to a certain type to deductive reasoning. Academic excellence will not create innovative minds. I emphatically believe innovation is a key component in the development of a child. It does become our responsibility to provide children with an environment that stimulates and encourages innovative thinking. So I can vouch for this myself. Even during school's time, I loved reading about outer space. I loved reading new articles. But somehow, whenever I used to talk about this to my friends, they were like, have you finished your syllabus? Because if you haven't, then why are you reading other things? You're meant to finish the syllabus before you can move on to read other things. But why not make this a habitual process where we want to nourish ourselves, we want to nurture our being rather than the student inside of us, which I do agree is very important, but so is becoming a human that is interested in various aspects of life as well. Now, the result, as you can see, is, next slide please. The result that you can see is in the Innovation Index. It says a lot about our approach towards it. As you can see, India is ranking 81st, 66 actually. And that is pretty low on the innovation scale. So obviously Switzerland's doing something extremely right, which we might not be. Now, the next slide is, sorry. I'm rendered speechless and I have no words. I'm indebted and I'm highly grateful to these amazing names for sharing my story forward. Through this entire journey, I think the most satisfying experience was when I got a call from a parent saying that his daughter had read my story and was inspired by it. That's when all the hard work, the late nights, the emails seemed so worth it. And I'm absolutely humbled to share with all of you that I recently did make it onto the Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia list as well. So thank you. Thank you. Next please. So I'm also extremely passionate about women empowerment, and this conference seemed like a perfect fit for me. And this led me to start my own campaign, which is called Color World Pink. This campaign aims at promoting entrepreneurship and leadership among girls. The aim of this is to bridge the ambition gap and shine a ray of pink in the darkness of sexism. I'll be ever so grateful if you could go like it on Facebook and probably share the message forward that empowering women is so important. And I think we always have this mindset of the fact that entrepreneurship, it's a risky field to get into. It does not guarantee you a 9-to-5 job. It doesn't guarantee you a fixed salary. And maybe that's why parents are hesitant for their children to follow this path, especially girls, because we want a fixed career path. But in promoting that, I think it allows women to explore their true potential and what they're really interested in. And I'm grateful that my parents did allow me to explore this field. And it's really interesting, and I hope I can sort of have a ripple effect and more girls join the movement. Before I end, next slide please. Before I end, I'd definitely like to leave you with a thought. At the core of sustainable living and sustainable development lies innovation. Innovators will be the pioneers of a sustainable future. We cannot force people to think innovative, but we sure can create an environment which stimulates the thought process. And I think it's important to stimulate the thought process from very early years so it gets fostered while we progress and grow. Sustainable living is not a trait that we are born with, but in fact it needs to be on our to-do list. I'd like to conclude by saying I like to quote one of my favorite Chinese proverbs. When the wind's ashamed to blow, some people build walls, while others build windmills. The wind of change is innovation, and it's our time to build a sustainable future. Thank you so much for listening.
It was really so inspiring to hear you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tamara, can you start now? What is this?
you put it together?
So by a binding material, resin, I use resin to bind myself. Yeah.
And how long does it last?
It's extremely sturdy, so I'm still in the...
And you run J group?
Sorry, yes, Venkata?
What do you run?
I do lots of stuff. One thing I do is I run a non-profit. I'm the CEO of JA, Junior Achievement, which works with stuff.
Definitely, I look forward to that.
I can put you in touch with a lot of achievers.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much, everybody, and Women Economic Forum for having me. Bisman, that was absolutely inspiring. Yeah, one more round of applause for her because, wow, I don't know if I can go after that, but there's definitely a lot of amazing and inspiring women here, and it's helping me go, and gentlemen, and it helps me get through my jet lag coming from the USA to stay energized and excited to keep learning and connecting. My name is Tamara Struk, and I represent the Sorensen Impact Center. We're located in Utah, of all places if you know where Utah is, but it's at the University of Utah. And before I go into what I'm doing with the Sorensen Impact Center, let me tell you a little bit about where I came from and where I'm going with them. Next slide, please. So this skyline probably looks a little bit familiar to a few of you. This is where I've spent the last few years of my life, and where the topic and the theme of innovation has really permeated the work that I've done. I went to Cornell University to learn about public health, public policy, social ventures, and how people can work together. I came there with the question of knowing that so many people have these amazing ideas and are starting nonprofits and are trying to do amazing things in their communities. What is the way that we can connect all of this synergy together, and what is the way that we can innovate together to solve some of the biggest problems, global poverty being one of the ones that's always on my mind. So after Cornell, I worked in New York City for Cornell for a few years, and I worked at the Labor Relations School on human capital development programs, and we consulted for a Middle Eastern government, and we helped them through executive learning programs to work on innovation, corporate entrepreneurship, social impact venture type themes. After working for Cornell, I went to the Atlantic Philanthropies. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of the Atlantic Philanthropies. Okay, one person. So that's amazing because I told her about it. But the Atlantic Philanthropies is the largest philanthropy ever to be a limited life and ever to purposely shut down, which it did at the end of 2016. So a Cornellian named Chuck Feeney, who you may not know, but you have probably seen if you pass through an airport, one of his entrepreneurial and innovative ideas, duty-free shopping. He and his partners started duty-free. He was a secret millionaire and didn't tell anybody. And then in the 80s, $1 million is a lot, but now he's a billionaire and finally came out of hiding and is telling the world his story. And over the last 30 years has given away $8 billion to human rights efforts, to global health issues, to capital building development work in the education sector. He is responsible for the Celtic Tiger movement and the growth of the Irish economy, and post the conflict and peace and reconciliation process. Some of his donations and matching grants with the government, which was really innovative at the time,
what is the arm you told? What is the philanthropic arm?
Oh, sorry, the question?
What is the foundation?
The foundation is called the Atlantic Philanthropies.
Which is not there anymore.
Well, I mean, the
Atlantic Philanthropy.
I'm not there anymore as of December because all of the staff has slowly been let go just because we're finishing up the different programs. But you can Google Chuck Feeney, the Atlantic Philanthropies. We just developed a website that will live for another 10 years and will teach and sort of share the lessons learned that this foundation has gone through. It's been very exciting and painful, and there's been a tension at times to try to figure out how to live out his dream of shutting this down and not having to burden anyone else with running his foundation, but still making his good and his goodwill and his donations do good in the world while he was alive. That was something that he wanted to do. And so now other philanthropists are looking to this foundation and trying to emulate and ask the questions, well, why did you choose to do this? Why did you choose to make your investments in Australia to help the entire biotech field grow? Why did you choose to help make the investments in the United States that help the entire higher education sector, nonprofit sector grow? Why did you choose to help the peace and reconciliation process in South Africa, in Ireland? And so watching him as an entrepreneur and an innovator, not only in his business life, but also in his philanthropic and his giving life, has been really inspiring to me personally and to many others. And so I have left New York and have gone to a new skyline. Next slide, please. You may not recognize this one, or you may if you're very into skiing. This is Salt Lake City, Utah. And after being so inspired in New York, in such a, I want to say, dynamic city where there are so many innovators, it wants to be sort of the new Silicon Alley of the Silicon Valley in California. And so New York and Bloomberg has put in a lot of initiatives to help this economy grow. So I found a group in Salt Lake City at the University of Utah called the Sorensen Impact Center. And so now I know two billionaires. One is Chuck Feeney, and one is Jim Sorensen, who has endowed this center, which is an impact investing center and a social entrepreneurship center in the middle of Utah. We realize that it's sort of the flyover state, but let me show you a quick video. It's a minute and a half, and maybe you'll understand why I was attracted to this group and what I think they are doing that is incredibly powerful, and what Jim Sorensen, the man who has sort of been a pioneer in the social impact space, is doing. So, next slide, please. And there should be, oh, back. Just don't see. It was hiding. It is online.
Yeah, put it on the internet actually.
Yeah, if you just go to YouTube, that way everybody knows how to find it later, so you can watch it again and again.
Actually, just help her, no?
Yeah.
Just go.
So just
because we are online. Just go to the Wi-Fi thing and press your hotel. Wait, I'll help you.
Yeah, that's
I'll help you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it online. No problem. So, I had a question actually.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually understand what you do.
Oh, I'm getting there. It was sort of a big setup and a build-up to what I'm actually doing. So let me show you very quick. Hopefully you can hear it, but here it is on here, and I don't know if it's possible to the microphone.
hook it up to the...
No, I have internet. I'll connect that PC. I have a Geo dongle.
What is showing on that?
I have it. You may not be able to see it very well, but you can just... Tech innovation.
financiers, the British Parliament, and even the Vatican are financiers. We know the solutions are out there. Big ideas in New Delhi, Nairobi, and New York. So we scour the earth to find daring nonprofits, innovative governments, and socially focused businesses. Then we empower them to become sustainable, scalable, and impactful. Our investments are bringing electricity to low-income homes in India and internet to remote classrooms in Africa. Our partnerships are opening doors for children to attend transformative preschools and drug users to enter proven treatment programs. We challenge governments to look at the causes of social problems, collaborate across sectors to build solutions, and then measure if they actually work. We are the bold brainchild of social pioneer Jim Sorensen, championing his vision of doing well while doing good. At our headquarters, ideas collide among investors, data scientists, policy experts, academics, and students. Since 2013, we've invested more than $100 million, empowered over 300 social entrepreneurs, and mentored hundreds of future leaders. To learn more, visit www.sorensen.com.
Very nice. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so that video gets me every time, and that's why I really wanted to show it, because the Sorensen Center is only a few years old, but already they are figuring out ways of doing a policy innovation lab approach and an impact investing approach, and finding ways to get the data scientists to talk to the policy makers, to talk to the social entrepreneurs, and to talk to the government leaders, and to all come together to solve some of the most pressing social issues. You talked a lot about innovation. Economists say that innovation and knowledge is going to account for 50 to 80% of the growth of our economy. It is the key to how we are going to move forward together. I loved hearing about your ideas and how you're implementing them on the ground. Sorensen Impact Center tackles with some very big themes, some very big issues that we try to bring together under one house so that together some of these problems and solutions can come together. One of these themes is impact investing and social enterprise. This is basically when you leverage capital for public good. Another theme is measurement and evaluation. What an amazing way to be able to show and evaluate what is happening. This isn't just for fun. It's to be able to measure the success that you're having and or figure out where you should pivot and how you should do better within your organizations. Another big theme is data. If data is collected thoughtfully, if it's visually applicable, there is a way to be able to teach others to use this to answer the questions of whether or not we're moving forward with the work that we're doing, we're stepping backwards. Another big theme is public-private partnerships. Honestly, I can't talk enough about this. I really think that in another several years, or a decade or 20 years, everybody is going to have this as the norm way of working. There are examples of this. One thing that our center does a lot are social impact bonds. And there are a lot of other models out there where governments, private, public sectors come together to solve some of these issues. I personally sit next to the data scientists at my work. And when they get to the whiteboard and you see them running their R models and a lot of their different stats, and they're trying to figure out how to help Utah County lower its recidivism rates and its homelessness rates, and they're not afraid to tackle some of these really pressing questions for other governments as well, for other social enterprises, to try to help others figure out how they are moving the needle. I will end by saying that I am here because even though I've only found them a few months ago and I've only been with Sorensen for a few months, I'm excited to announce that we're looking at opportunities in India to work on sanitation issues. This also touches on the global development goals. And we've picked goal number 6, which is sanitation for all. Because if you're able to do this, it touches women, children, education, infrastructure, water. It's sort of the, I want to say, unsexy part of WASH, water, sanitation, and hygiene, but it really, honestly, all works together. There are 660 million people that don't have access to good water sources. There are 2.4 billion people that don't have access to improved sanitation sources and resources. We want to try to find a way to bring everyone together so that we can all work to scale some of the solutions that are already in place and to be able to tackle this head on, because honestly, that's one of the best ways that we're ever going to solve some of the problems, and that's going to take a lot of blended finance, a lot of social innovation, a lot of entrepreneurship on the ground to be able to do this together. So My last thought is that a few days ago I was at the physical therapist's office working on a shoulder with some muscle problems, and I'm used to doctors telling me what's wrong, and this is the problem, and it's going to take this many years to solve it. And I think about all the problems in the world and how many years we have ahead of us to solve these problems, and when I was leaving, the doctor looked at me and he said, you know, there's actually a lot right with you. And that struck me so forcefully, because not often do you hear someone say that. And so I want to say that knowing that the women here and the men here and everyone working together, I'm able to say there's actually a lot right with the world, and there's actually a lot right with everybody who's working together to help solve these problems, because they will be solved if we keep going this direction. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tamara. It was really amazing. Anyone wants to ask anything to her?
Tamara.
Yes.
So when you went ahead with the solar project in India, how did you go about it? So what were the mechanisms that you followed? How did you set up the organization, if at all? How did you go about it?
Great question. I believe that happened, again, I'm only 2 months into the organization, but that, I believe the examples that were shown in the video are the impact investments. So to clarify, at the University of Utah, the Sorensen Center is a think and do tank. So we are heavily academic, and we have students, and we have the impact investors that mentor them, and they also help do some of the due diligence. So we have the investing side that helps Jim Sorensen, other governments, other family like offices, philanthropy offices, figure out how to invest their money, and that's on that side. There's also the policy side of the house, and that side does a little bit more of the project management and the work with governments to help initiate some of these impact bonds within the different states that we work in the United States. So I'm happy to send you some more information. But
I understand you are definitely recent to the organization, maybe now or maybe later. We'd be very eager to know that when you wish to make a deeper engagement into India, what's the best help that can be provided to you?
I can answer that for myself personally. I'm here for the conference this week, but next week I'm doing a tour all over India to look for commissioners in the municipalities, to look for people that are willing to work on smart sanitation financing structures, to know who either in the smart cities or anywhere else in India is ready to sort of put their time and energy and effort. These big problems are only going to be tackled if there is a government support, if somebody's in office long enough, and if there are people on the ground. We wonder if Swachh Bharat is the right program to leverage forward, or if Clean Ganga is the right program to sort of help finance, and we're trying to figure out who is already in that space. Yeah. And so that's sort of why I'm here as well. So I can go and meet with anybody who's working there. I have waste treatment plant facility tours planned, just so that I can understand what's already happening, and then together we can go back and look at the landscape and see, well, what's being done, how can we scale this, and how can we help improve in the separate areas. The rural solutions are different than the urban solutions. So it isn't a one problem fit,
Just to give you a quick response.
Thank you.
As you move into the system, and as you meet the municipal commissioners, you might get exhausted. But that said, there's also substantial traction that has happened in India over the last several years. For example, as a privately owned model, there are very large structures which cover an entire state, such as Maharashtra, which is one of the third largest in terms of population and geographic expansion. The largest state where the single organization has literally reached every household in the state, urban and rural, and they make a multi-pronged interventions, which includes issues around water, which includes issues around democratizing energy, and therefore solar plants, which includes issues about grassroots innovation, especially to improve agriculture and labor productivity. They have structures, they have systems to reach, and they can provide you access. But the beauty of these organizations are they are looking very international to seek people who can bring in technology, comprehension, understanding, solutions, and therefore the benefit of you going with such organization being you don't have to work around the system in India. These are individuals who understand the system in India, have deep access into the systems in India, They are right now piloting at a single state level. They're looking actively for partners. They are very open, and when you create your first success stories in such a large state with one partner, the access is so deep, they can take you to anywhere.
But I don't think it should be limited to partner, because I'm personally saying I'm a social entrepreneur myself. I wouldn't talk about my organization, but I'm connected to quite a lot of organizations myself. So I can actually put you in touch with 2-3 partners who can really take you forward. So when you come for a week visit, make sure you meet enough partners and then you take it forward. Yeah. So he's right when it comes to, like, of course you have the government bureaucracy, but there are enough organizations to meet. So don't limit yourself to one pilot. Yeah.
That's actually an interesting thought, because we are trying to figure out where we are going to have our one pilot and how to figure out how to work with that. But maybe that's another way to think about it. And so thank you both for those comments, just because already it's helping me understand what, you know, the real life implications of what I'm saying, that it has to be collaborative. It has to be, you know, those groups, but then also the systems that are already in place. It has to all work together to figure out.
Whenever you have time, if you have not done already, there's this group called PEMAND, PEMAND, Performance Management and Delivery Unit. It's a Malaysian government initiative, supported by Msengezi. It's a pretty old initiative, directly under the Office of Prime Minister. So they created a very substantial and very large framework of public-private government partnerships to make a very dramatic improvement to the social indicators. Now the important point is, the same model is being replicated in India. So you may...
Thank you. My personal friend and secretary is going to write this down.
PEMA. This is a Malaysian model. PE, Performance Management and Delivery Unit.
So there's this organization, it's called the Art of Living. They have revived 30 rivers in this country, and they're actually heralding Swachh Bharat mission in a very big way, and wash as well. And they've gotten several awards. Karnataka government gave them an award. Recently, Maharashtra government gave them an award. And they have one of the most, like, I would say, the best examples of working with the community grassroots. I think you should really look at it. And it's also been known as the cheapest model in India so far. Yeah, the Art of Living. I can put you in touch with them. Excellent river rejuvenation work, both in Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, across India actually. I'll just share cards. And you're doing an amazing job. Must congratulate you. I had a question. How do you support social entrepreneurs like us? Because I have a startup. We work with around 3,000 farmers across India. We have an organic foods brand and label, and I think it would be interesting if you have some grant-based thing to create pilots. We also work in rural India, so in organic, when we do that, we have a lot of natural farming trainings, etc. Our farmers have to deal with water rejuvenation, watershed, and climate change. It's a very big issue. So, is there a program where we can also partner with? Although, of course, WASH is your focus.
And I'm only one person in a team.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, no, that's a great question, because one of the things that we do at Sorensen is to try to help leverage the different resources that we would need and go out and to try to find that as well. So when I said impact investing and social enterprise, I mean, we know that impact investing has only been a few $1 billion in the past few years of money raised for this. We need to get to trillions. We need to scale this a lot more, and this needs to grow. But then if you are able to leverage government funding, that model alone doesn't work anymore. So there are just different ways to bring other players to the table, and that's one of our biggest, probably our other big question next to finding where we would do a pilot is to try to bring the financiers to the table to see who will work towards supporting this, just because there are people out there already committed. There are finance ministers that work on getting the sustainable development goal agendas to their governments and to their ministries, and so it's those people that we need to also get in front of, the multilaterals especially. I know they have presence here, and so I think it's a combination of several different sources, but we'll definitely talk about
that. Yeah, that would be great. Are you in Mumbai sometime?
Next week.
And Bangalore?
Thursday and Friday.
So that's great. I will connect you to the Art of Living. You can go and visit the headquarters and see if you can do a pilot with them. It would be really cool.
Well, I'm so glad I was here tonight and you both were as well, and for this reason exactly. So.
But have you been at the Southern Institute level? I'm sure you might have tried engaging the Gates Foundation.
They're next.
And the Gates Foundation priority in India.
They have the smart city. They're helping with a lot of the smart city work, but I know that Gates is big in sanitation.
The current focus is hygiene and sanitation.
Right.
And I'm sure you understand the Gates Foundation model. It's all about enabling the individuals who have the solutions, right? In fact, they might even fund you.
Yes, we are trying to get a meeting with them set up. Tata, Gates, we know that there are a lot of people working sort of in this area, and so it's a matter of just bringing everyone to the table and just having the discussion to try to head this all on. You know, before it hasn't worked because it's a behavior change issue, or it's a lack of access to toilet issue, or it's a, just an area where it's just open defecation is the norm, or it's a waste facility treatment issue, but it has to be a holistic approach to every part of the system, and it's also an infrastructure issue. So, I'm not the one with the answers, but I definitely have the ideas that the more that people work together.
Yeah, in fact, this fantastic movement on all these aspects in the last 2.5 years for sure. This dramatic amount of. In fact, one overarching guidance, if I were you, is what I would have done given all the experience is. The stakeholders who have already been engaging in the ecosystem here, talk to them first, get a feel. In fact, most of them would also come from your world, and therefore they would be able to bridge both sides. They will understand the language on both sides, and that will be the best use of energies at this point.
Thank you very much for the advice.
I have one question. Can you please talk about, he has already talked about the Gates Foundation. So they are doing a really marvelous job here in India and all over the world. So can you please talk a little bit about your investment in the healthcare, particularly in the healthcare, because it's one of the most underpenetrated market and it has a lot of opportunities in India right now. Just wanted to listen from you.
Yeah, I know that in the U.S. the biggest health challenges right now are in the homelessness populations and also in the criminal justice system. There's a big issue with recidivism, with people going back into jail, and there's a lot of mental health issues associated with that. And so I think that's the majority of some of the projects that people have been working on. But here in India specifically, I'm not quite sure that anyone in Sorensen, other than the impact investments that they've done, it's been targeted in the healthcare system. I studied public health, so I definitely am aware of how important that's been my, challenge in my life and how to work in this issue. But education, health, as far as healthcare systems go, I can look for more information for you from what they've already done. But do you mean in India specifically?
I would like to talk to you on in this regard because still, more than 80% of the people in India, when you talk about affordable healthcare and getting the right treatment and doctor, there's very few hospitals out there, and especially in states like Bihar, which is one of the most beautiful states in India, and there's some other states as well. So if we can take this further, will your company love to invest in this country or not, and how should we move ahead?
That would be great. And that's a compliment since I represent the USA and we don't have the best healthcare news happening right now these days. But honestly, these issues are bipartisan.
But that's very costly.
Yeah, it's costly. It's not perfect. So,
we'll tell you one thing. Obamacare has been a success or failure. I mean,
who are you asking? Yeah. Who are you asking? It's not perfect. It's not perfect at all. But I know that my focus has been on the disadvantaged communities. So when I was at the philanthropy, we've funded immigration. We funded public health. Affordable Health Care Act was actually one of the things that our foundation funded a lot of. And so knowing that these were directly affected by administration changes, that's not something easy for people to just sort of go past. And there's definitely a a collaboration in the U.S. right now that I've been listening in on phone calls and figuring out how to sort of go through the next several years and sort of keep up the fences that have been built to help move forward some of the human rights issues that are involved with all of these sections. So, I'm not going to say that Obamacare is perfect, but I know that a lot of the people that it has been helping feel threatened at this point, just for some of the changes that are being sort of introduced. So, not perfect, but a lot more people were covered, that's for sure. Yeah. I have very extensive reports that I can share with you about the Affordable Health Care Act. An old coworker actually helped put a lot of it together. So, yeah, it's an important issue. I, at one point in my life, had to choose between education and health, and I chose health because in menstrual health and women's health and schoolgirl health, and you can't get to the school if you're not able to get there. So that was sort of my kind of path that I took, but it's also interconnected.
Very quickly, before you end your talk, I just wanted to hear your experiences and your learnings, your three main learnings at Cornell.
At Cornell?
Yeah.
Ooh, my 3 learnings at Cornell. I'll go very personal with you. So.
It has to be that way.
Yeah, it has to be that way.
Yeah, it has to be, yeah.
Off camera. You can cut it out later.
Afterwards also, if you both are there.
Yeah.
Because our time is up.
No,
we're officially finished, but I'm happy to answer.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer. My first lesson that I learned was say yes to everything. I said yes to every opportunity that was put in front of me. I am the granddaughter of refugees. My parents moved us to the United States after my grandparents fled from the Ukraine during World War II. And so education has been instilled in my life and in my family as a vehicle for success and a vehicle to be able to get somewhere. And a vehicle to be able to make something out of yourself and to have a better life. My grandma grew up in a dirt floor hut with geese to tend in her life. So from farmer class to middle class is what my dad was able to do with education, and that was instilled in me and the reason that I chose to continue it. I said yes to these opportunities to go to school and to be involved and to work while I was in school just because I knew that that would give me the exposure that I would need. A woman said the other day, she said, it's not going to work for Harvard just to accept people with 100% scores. They need to accept people, and Cornell as well, and every institution that's higher education that's trying to produce good citizens in the world has to have people that know how to speak to others, to know how to have empathy, to know how to communicate with others. So my saying yes to having all these other projects and to work and to be with consulting groups every single semester and to be associated with people was the way that I knew best how to channel myself into the community and how to see what was around me. Second was to say no. So say yes to everything, but also say no when your body and your energy was sort of being scattered. Your energy, you're only as good as your health. You're only as good as how you're able to concentrate. I mean, I can't believe how much you have done. You're a lot younger than me, and so I am just so proud and immensely humbled to be here and to learn about the different things that you've done. And I don't know how you've been able to do it, but I know that you have to have the support of people around you. But at one point, there was a very real moment in my life where I said, that's enough. Instead of doing 10 things, I have to scale it down to 5 or 6 and to do these well. And the last thing I learned at Cornell was that the relationships that I made there is the most important thing that I've taken with me. I have friends all over the world, and it's that sort of, Cornell is good about accepting people from sort of a lower income class and to try to open its doors through scholarships to more and give students more opportunities than other schools. And for that reason, I felt just so grateful and humbled and grateful to know that there was a large number of international students in my cohort that helped me see the world a little bit differently and to help me understand it and how interconnected we are, to how I can work a little bit better in that space, since that's what I feel is important in my life. So, say no, say yes, and keep your relationships close to you. Awesome. Thank you.
Very inspiring. So, I have a very similar story. like even while I was growing up, like I used to say yes to a lot of things, and then it became really scattered at some point. Even with my social enterprise, right? There's only this much you can do with it. And at some point you have to start saying no to people, like these are my priorities, and
to focus in and to hone in on what you want to.
And that is growth actually.
You have to have the courage to say no sometimes.
Yeah.
You need to let go of few.
And what is it? What is your priority in life? Do you have to?
Can we have one group picture?
I would love a picture with all of you just because this was such a nice evening. I want you in it too.
एक ग्रुप फोटो
So I can send you a lot of
हाँ Yes, fine.
Mumbai is a big, it's a big town too.
You want to take my card?
Hi, I didn't really get to meet you. Tamara. That's okay. I'd rather be never. Oh no. I'll look at it online.
I do keep visiting Mumbai. I drop a line to you.
Then we should catch up.
Which part of Mumbai?
I'm in Chembur, I can come in.
I was going to get on with everybody, I think.
Okay, sorry, really quick. I really want you guys just want to group picture. I know you guys are doing a good job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Congrats, you are speakers today. Come on. Everyone's part of it.
So sorry. It's just the end of the day.
आप ही आ जाओ
Yeah.
सर को पहले फोटो खिंचवा लें.
Just wait.
Want to take one more?
I'm looking actually if it's okay.
Done? It has to be the difference, right?
Okay, don't worry about your like.
Even,
I'm not ready for the selfie, but that's okay.
वन पिक एक और एक कैमरा आ रहा हमारा एक पिक और क्लिक एक और हाँ वन वेट एक क्लिक और
Huh? Oh, sorry, I did not cut off. So sorry.
आप याद रखो 1 सेकंड वन ग्रुप प्लीज गो आ गया
One more pic.
यस जाइए जाइए एक्सक्यूज मी बैक
Yeah. Okay. I didn't miss my chance. Here, give this one to you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
I hope you're not filming all of this. This is a little bit funny.
Oh God.
Yay! We want more.
With the maximum displacement.
भैया कैमरा दूर रखना जस्ट वेट
Smile. Yes.
वेट 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 यहाँ रिकॉर्डिंग चल रही थी
It's very strange. It's a social networking world. Again, mobile has to help. You could actually have tagged it.
क्या करेंगे दूर से लेना यार थोड़ा पीछे हो ना जस्ट वेट Done.
Okay. Very nice. Thank you for tonight.
May not.
Okay, I have my flight on the Friday, so but I'll be coming back in July anyway.
Where do you use?
I actually study in the UK.
I'm briefly in Israel coming to 3 days.
Oh, okay.
It was end of this month and then Brussels for 3 days. Speaking of June. If by any chance you are there,
Definitely, I will. Alright, thank you.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, no, I will. Thank you. Anyway, it's so nice meeting you. Yeah, I'd love to get the pictures just in case. Like, I'll email you.
Yeah, you give me your card, so
Yeah.
I have your email address on that.
Great, yeah.
So many people.
That's great. No, that's great. You were helping. So.
That's fine.
Do you need another?
He's currently working in implementation of that. So that we can get the
Yeah, alright. Great, thank you guys.
if you are I don't hear you are something around this area, then we can
Oh, I think we've taken like 4 or 5.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we're okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Vodacom has a smaller group for investors because of shapers. So can I be part of that coalition? Or how what is it? So these all cycle in many other classes. It's not only in it's not only demand of which practice they use to do like screening and all there are so many other this well-planned cities. Functional expertise using this different models and intelligence. As a professor, I was for experience and also somewhat experience and all what way you can help. We can offer from our side because as he is an education institute, cannot. Tamara, I'm going to take a leave, but drop the email. Absolutely pleasure. Yeah. I'm sure your timing is very right. There's lots of good happening. And you would be surprised at how much effort is happening locally, domestically, and very large, very substantive efforts.
I'm so excited.
So in fact, you can actually take a very good head start. And the most beautiful point right now is people understand that it doesn't make sense to spin the wheel afresh. In fact, as recently as 3 months back, in fact, look up this website called Delivering Change Foundation. DCF, Delivering Change Foundation. Delivering Change Foundation, or it's also called, they also have a website called Delivering Change Forum. So the parent entity is the Delivering Change Foundation, and they felt the need to bring in expertise so much that they created an event as a part of Delivering Change Foundation, which is called the Delivering Change Forum. And over a span of 2 days, notice as 300 to 400 professionals from different functions, industries, spanning almost 60 countries, who came in and shared their perspectives on how they have been. So either somebody had a solution or a technology.
I thought about it, or just needed to be connected to the missing piece that they had. Sounds like kind of synergy. Yeah.
So in fact, next year when it happens, in fact, if you go to the forum, you can register. More important is maybe you can actually time your visit.
Register.
Be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it would be a good place for you to actually over a span of 2 days. You can actually have a multi-country interaction. But more important, all of them have come together for their interest in India. Therefore, it would be in a very similarly intentioned group, and it would be very easy way for you to get started on it. Because one of the most exhausting aspect about engaging in India, which is changing dramatically, it's improving for the better, is working with systems. And that's a very, I would say, it's an unproductive energy at this point. And when there are institutions who have figured this out already, then you don't have to do this by your time.
That sounds like absolutely sufficient.
Yeah. And there's one more point. You should also interact with some of the organizations in US which have very deep and long interest in US aid.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, you'll be surprised about the amount of traction US aid can give.
I can help you. We just did our first grant about having insight, and a person who used to work with them can help.
And there's a US India Foundation which is funded by US aid. So in fact, you'll be surprised about the amount of traction you can get by your own organizations in US in India. AmCham, you should also look at AmCham, American Chamber of Commerce. They are very active in India.
Great. I love collecting those.
And in fact, the reason I say that is there is so much hunger and so much zeal in each of these organizations to make a deep impact in India. And it will be very easy for you to access the leadership in the US. And more important point is AmCham, USA, all of them have already figured out their networks and their access.
But they've been here.
They've been here for very long, and they can actually get you access to the US
Very, very incredibly helpful of you. Thank you.
Drop an
so
email,
much for this.
and if you're LinkedIn, let's get connected.
Absolutely.
Are you looking for the same name?
Same name, LinkedIn. I'm like the only Toronto Struk on Facebook. There aren't very many of you on LinkedIn, so I think it should be pretty easy to find me. So, such a pleasure.
All the
Thank
best.
you so much. We'll be in touch again.
I need to talk to you for 2 minutes.
Let's talk for 2 minutes. We just discuss senior achievement and getting better school.
Is this for me? Can I do this? Thank you so much. Okay, great. Well, I'll take it.
Let me know. What I can do is I can introduce you to my team.
Okay, this is your professor.
I went back after this, so I'll be
Just drop an email. Or if you're this trip, next trip, whenever you have spare time, maybe you can go to some schools with the other and see what's happening there. Maybe starting can go around to your school.
Yeah, Adam.
You are coming to school.
Okay.